Shadowverse. Echo-03 Discovery. Dot. 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 The Echo-03, a sleek, 5,000-foot experimental warp vessel created by the United Scientific and Military Exploration Council. Warp technology having just been obtained by humanity, granting access to the stars. Blaze doesn't know the details of how the drive works, just that his job is to command the ship and ensure the safety of all on board. His usual role being to lead his armed high-strangeness response team. Taking the mission and training as others were too unwilling to take the responsibility. His gold eyes study the crew as the ship's air vent above blows his short curly hair. His almost tropical complexion giving him a seeming glow in the ship's white and silver interior. The crew members are an odd collection of scientists and military personnel. Dr. Elena Martinez, a brilliant theoretical physicist, medical practitioner and biologist, her dark hair tied back in a practical bun, is reviewing calculations on a tablet. Next to her is Lieutenant Sarah Chen, her muscular frame betraying her background in special operations. She also specializes in surveying, piloting, crew preparedness and linguistics. Captain Blaze observes them all from the command seat, his brow furrowed in concentration. Through the massive viewport, the Milky Way stretches endlessly, a glittering reminder of humanity's small place in the universe. The ship's reactor hums softly, its power contained by the experimental containment fields. He takes a deep breath, steeling himself for the journey ahead. All right everyone, let's get prepped for the first warp. This is it, humanity's first step into the cosmos. Dr. Martinez, how are the drive calculations looking? The physicist looks up from her tablet, her dark eyes intense. Everything's nominal, Captain. We're good to go on my end. Lieutenant Chen, what about the crew's readiness? Sarah nods, her short black hair glinting under the ship's lights. All stations are manned and ready for warp, Doctor. The crews, well, they're about as ready as they'll ever be to venture into the unknown. A low hum begins to emanate from the heart of the ship as the warp drive powers up. The air seeming to vibrate with its eldritch frequency. Dr. Martinez watches the readouts intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. Captain, we're at full power and stable containment. We can initiate the warp at any time. Blaze nods grimly, his hand hovering over the controls. Very well. Prepare for warp in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He presses his finger to activate the drive, and the universe dissolves into a blinding maelstrom of colors as the Echo-03 leaps into the higher dimensions. A sense of acceleration startling the crew. Blaze shakes his head, G-force meters reading 0, but it feels like a 4G turn in a fighter jet. He thinks to himself, feeling as if his skeleton or something inside has fallen behind and can't catch up. Dot. 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 After 60 seconds the colors vanish as the ship exits back into normal space around 4.3 light-years from Earth. The ship only 1 astronomical unit from a planet around Proxima Centauri, the closest star to the Sun. The Echo-03 emerging, its hull glowing with residual energy. Through the viewport, a planet comes into sight, a seemingly scorched, reddish-brown marble dotted with white clouds. Dr. Martinez quickly checks her instruments. Captain, we've arrived at the designated coordinates. The planet appears to have had an Earth-like atmosphere just a few hundred to 1,000 years ago despite its looks. As well as showing some unusual radiation patterns, she says, studying the AI's analysis of conditions. Lieutenant Chen moves to the tactical station, her fingers dancing across the console. Scanning for signs of life, but so far it's all coming up negative. The radiation seems to be emanating from the poles, and there are some strange energy signatures coming from the equatorial regions. Blaze studies the data and image, his brow furrowing. Looking at the readouts he squints. Why's it look like it's a giant Tesla coil? He asks Martinez. The planet's fields and radiation being displayed on the viewing window. Massive invisible bolts of cosmic lightning dance around the poles. Bright flashes of blue and white erupting near the surface. She shrugs. I've never seen anything like that even in simulations. But, if I had to guess, Maybe the planet is superconductive and some stellar event causes energy to be directed towards it. These energy levels are crazy though. It's enough that if there's any life down there, it's long gone. So much energy it would instantly kill anything not protected by some crazy powerful stuff, explode rock even. And our scanners are showing that we could see this from Earth for decades hidden in the background noise. Being this close gives us much better data to put to what we already have from Earth. We should record this cause no one will believe it, she says, activating the cameras. The planet in the distance hangs in the darkness. Its surface being scoured and cratered by constant bolts and streams of ionized particles, the energy on scanners shown being drawn from the magnetic field of the nearby star. Continent-altering strikes melting and blasting away the planet's surface. Almost as if no trace of whatever is there can be left. Lieutenant Chen's voice cuts through the awe. Captain, we're detecting some unusual electromagnetic anomalies around the equator. They're forming geometric patterns, but they're too regular to be natural. Dr. Martinez nods, her fingers flying over her tablet. You're right, Sarah, these patterns don't match any known natural phenomenon. They almost look like some kind of ancient power grid or defense system. Blaze squints at the readings on his screen. A defense system that's still functional in that condition. That doesn't make sense. He turns to Martinez. Dr. Martinez, what are the radiation levels around the equator? She studies her tablet intently. She frowns. I don't know if it's for defense. It should stop whatever that stellar event is causing, but our scanners show damage even under the seemingly artificial electromagnetic structures. So if it is, then it must have failed at some point. She says, then gets lost in thought. The crew falls into a tense silence as they observe the planet's surface, which is being constantly assaulted by electromagnetic forces. Lieutenant Chen breaks the quiet. Captain, I'm detecting something unusual in the radiation patterns. They're pulsing in a specific rhythm. Dr. Martinez looks up from her tablet, her brow furrowed. That's impossible. Natural phenomena don't pulse like that. She pauses, then continues. Captain, if those patterns are artificial, they could be some kind of warning system. Or a failsafe mechanism. Blaze nods grimly. All right, let's take this slow. Dr. Martinez, can you calculate the safe distance for us to approach without triggering anything? As he readies the ship to approach the planet between its energetic bands of radiation. His inner voice chimes in. You don't want to go that way. He thinks as a whole complete intrusive concept of a thought. Shaking his head he continues, closing with the planet. As they near, the sensors resolve an area that appears to be pyramids laid out similar to those at Giza on Earth, though far more massive. The sensors showing the protective field emanating from a focal point above the structures. As they watch, suddenly the energy levels around the planet skyrocket, forcing Blaze to pull away as alarms blare on the bridge. A spatial anomaly rippling through the ship and space around the planet converging on its surface. A bright flash whites out all sensors and cameras, the entire ship flooded with brilliant white light that somehow penetrates the walls. Moments later a massive shockwave rocks the 5,000-foot starship, the planet itself, completely turned to vapor and dust. Martinez gasps. This can't be right. We should be dead. Sensors calculate that burst was the equivalent of 2 black holes the size of the sun colliding. Our sensors have to be mistaken, she says in disbelief. Looking out at the empty space, Blaze sits back in his chair. A few minutes. We were late by a few minutes, and if we hadn't been, we'd be dead. If things like that are out here, I'm not sure what to trust right now. He thinks, suddenly not wanting to be captain as he and the crew stare out into the abyss. Despite the light of the stars and galaxies twinkling, the light seems stifled by the dark, the suffocating emptiness of space stretching before them. The Echo-03 hangs in the void, its crew shaken by the catastrophic destruction they witnessed. Dr. Martinez continues analyzing the data, her fingers flying across her tablet. Captain, this wasn't a natural phenomenon. The energy signature is too precise, too controlled. It's like someone or something deliberately triggered a failsafe system. Lieutenant Chen nods grimly, her eyes still fixed on the now empty space where the planet once was. And we just barely missed it. Whatever was on that planet, it's gone now. Completely obliterated. Blaze leans forward, his face set in a determined expression. We need to find out what's happening here. His wife chuckles from nearby. We should just keep going. We have all the data from the event and nothing's left to study, she says. Blaze shakes his head firmly. No, there has to be more to this. We need to investigate further, see if we can uncover any remnants of what was once there. Martinez sighs, but nods in agreement. All right, Captain, what do you have in mind? We can't exactly go digging through the rubble out there. She gestures to the empty space where the planet had been. Blaze sighs. Okay, Jane, where should we go next then? He asks. She looks at her nav station a moment. This star system here showed promise for life when it was found. TRAPPIST-1 is a planetary system located about 40 light-years away from Earth, she suggests. He considers this carefully. All right, TRAPPIST-1 it is. Let's see if we can find some answers there. He turns to Lieutenant Chen. Sarah, set a course for TRAPPIST-1. Engage the engines at 75% light speed. We'll test the ship's in-space abilities along the way. As the ship powers up, Blaze turns to Dr. Martinez. Dr. Martinez, I want you to analyze all the data we have on the planet we just witnessed. See if you can find any patterns or similarities to other known phenomena. He pauses, then adds, and be prepared for anything. We don't know what we might find out there. Dr. Martinez nods, her brow furrowed with concentration as she begins to pore over the data, her fingers dancing across the tablet's screen. Lieutenant Chen engages the engines, and the Echo-03 surges forward, the stars blurring into streaks of light as the ship accelerates to 75% light speed. Dot. 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 Blaze settles back into his chair, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen as the inky blackness of space stretches out before them. The ship is eerily quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the engines and the occasional beep of a console. As Jane finishes inputting coordinates, they jump into warp with a burst of phantom acceleration. The Echo-03 emerges from warp space near TRAPPIST-1, with a burst of energy. Blaze scans the system, his eyes narrowing at the data scrolling across his console. Multiple energy signatures detected on the third planet, Martinez. It's showing signs of life. He turns to her. What do your sensors say about the atmosphere? Her fingers fly across her controls as she processes the data. The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and oxygen, with traces of other gases consistent with a habitable world. But there's something strange about the radiation patterns again. She pauses. But nothing like before, it should be safe to approach and possibly land. She smiles nervously. Blaze nods, his jaw set in a firm line. All right, Chen, I'm taking us in. Martinez, I want a full spectrum analysis as we approach. Let's see what we're dealing with here. The Echo-03 moves closer to the planet, its sensors probing the atmosphere for any signs of danger. As they approach, the planet grows larger on the viewscreen, revealing a world covered in patches of blue oceans and swirling white clouds. He pilots the ship with precision, guiding them through the upper atmosphere. Dr. Martinez's face etched with concentration as she works on her tablet. Captain, I'm detecting an unusual energy signature coming from the northern continent. It's unlike anything I've seen before, she calls out. Looking at the screens, their mouths drop open. A maelstrom of state-sized tornadoes ripping across the planet's northernmost landmass. Jane gasps. Nav station wind speed readings are 4,000 miles per hour and above. She says. Looking at the images, they see strange metal obelisks a mile wide, being worn away by the wind. A strange energy field failing to protect them fully. The hypersonic wind and debris breaking through in random places here and there. Martinez lets out a chuckle as she engages the ship's atmospheric sampler. Sensors say those things are harder than diamonds. How could they even make this? The collector can't even tell what it's made of. But nothing we have even in theory should exist like this. she tells Blaze as the sampler finishes its testing, having caught fragments of the structures in the wind. A few hours later, as they travel south away from the maelstrom, they set down in an area that appears to have ruins and more stable geology. As the ship settles, sinking into the ground slightly, Blaze lets out a sigh. Okay, nav station, keep an eye on those monster storms to the north and inform of any changes to its structure or size. As Blaze steps out of the Echo-03, his helmet display shows a compass with the ship as the North Pole and a rough map of the area. Its AI highlighting points of interest and possible ruins. His boots crunching on the loose gravel, he surveys the area with a critical eye. The ruins are scattered across a wide expanse of land, their broken forms jutting up from the dusty landscape, remnants of some long-forgotten civilization. To the north, the maelstrom continues to rage, the sound of the wind a distant roar that sets his teeth on edge. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings from those ruins," Dr. Martinez's voice crackles over the comm. "There's an energy signature emanating from them, but it's weak." He takes note as he approaches a set of steps that vanish into the ground. He looks around at his survey team, then at the lifeless barren land. Readying his rifle, he leads the team of 10 down into the darkened passage. As Blaze and his team descend into the subterranean ruins, the air grows colder and damper with each step. The passage winds downward, the walls lined with strange symbols that seem to glow faintly in the light of their helmet lamps. The sound of the maelstrom above fades into silence, replaced by the eerie stillness of the depths. Suddenly, a low hum emanates from the walls, growing louder as they continue their descent. The symbols begin to pulse with an otherworldly light, casting an eerie glow on the team's faces. Blaze holds up a fist, signaling the team to halt. He scans the passage ahead, his rifle at the ready. "7 of you stay here. You 2 on me," he says, pointing. As they enter a massive chamber ahead, the walls transition from a carved stone cave to a strange type of gray stony metal, the dust increasingly covering surfaces, screens long darkened. Empty chair-like objects sit before them. Walking over to a console, Blaze wipes away a 5-inch thick layer of dust. The writing on a metallic pad like nothing he's seen before. He grabs it, putting it in his bag, then tries to find a way to activate the screen. As he feels around the edges, his number 2 calls over to him, seeming troubled. "Sir, I'm no expert, but I think we found a dead alien," he says, chuckling nervously. Moving over to him, Blaze spots the mantis-like creature's long dead body. Its green humanoid form impaled by what appears to be a whitish-yellow spike from the ceiling, pinning it to the floor, propped upright, seeming to stand. The insectoid eyes of its bug-like head lifelessly reflecting their lights, the long slender limbs still appearing sturdy and razor-sharp at the claws. Blaze chuckles, feeling stupid. "Looks like it was put up on display just for us," he snickers, moving closer. He approaches the grotesque creature, his curiosity getting the better of him. Up close, he can see the intricate patterns etched into its exoskeleton, like circuitry or some kind of bioluminescent veins. The spike that impaled it is as thick as his arm and gleams with an otherworldly sheen. Leaning closer, he coughs at the acrid smell that comes through his breathing filters. "Sulfur," he says, gagging. "How concentrated and pure is it to overpower our suit's air purifiers?" He gasps as he breaks off a chunk for Martinez to analyze later. "That's one ugly bastard," his number 3 mutters, circling the corpse. "Wonder what the hell it was doing down here." He reaches out, poking at the bug-like head with the barrel of his rifle. "It's surprisingly solid, like petrified wood or stone," he says, backing away. Looking further into the chamber with his light, Blaze spots another creature, this one hanging on hooks from the ceiling. Looking at the hardened substance under the creature, he frowns at the way the feet seem eaten away by the substance. The scene somehow frozen in time. Was this a torture chamber? What creatures could torture these things? He says to no one in particular. He motions to grab samples of the pool's hardened substance and continues to look around. Why is it so dusty in here but not in the caves? He thinks to himself. Dot. 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 Hours later, as they re-enter the Echo-03, Jane rushes over to Blaze. "We have to take one of those bodies back with us," and she starts to say, but suddenly the ground trembles beneath the ship. Dot. 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 Rushing to the bridge as the ground starts to shift, the ship tilts as he activates the core. Pushing the power up, he pulls away as the ground breaks apart, falling away, a mile-wide chasm opening within seconds. As he looks down at the devastation, he looks at Jane. "Seriously, that's the second close call we've had. We can't be that unlucky," he says, and she shrugs. Turning to him as she takes her seat at the nav station, Jane frowns. "It's a shame we couldn't grab the mantis things for study," she pouts. "Be glad it wasn't so," Blaze thinks in his mind as a complete thought concept from nowhere. "Why would I think that?" he thinks to himself. Dot. 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 Hours later, they sit orbiting the planet as the researchers pore over data and samples taken. Jane participating in the research as she is to assist the lab techs till she wanders away. Dot. 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 Blaze sits in his quarters going over the planned route and checklist of things to watch out for as there's a light ring from the door. He opens it to see Jane standing there with a worried expression. "We need to talk about what we found on that planet. The data from the remains, it's showing some disturbing patterns." She steps inside and moves to the small table where he was working. "The sulfur content in the air down there. It's not natural, it's off the charts, stuff on Earth is candy compared to it. And the way the organic matter seems to be crystallizing. It's almost like a deliberate preservation technique." Jane pulls out a holographic display, showing images of the alien corpses and the strange spike. "These weren't just aliens. They were created. Engineered. I think they might be suits. But no idea what for. There seems to be no space inside to fit anything. Not anything that could build all we see on this planet anyway," she tells him excitedly. He shudders for an unknown reason. "That seems strange. Maybe you're right though. They did seem oddly machine-like. We should have grabbed one when we had the chance," he replies. She smirks. "It's enough that we got clear video and samples," she says, sitting on his bed, looking at him longingly. "Come here, my love, let's spend time together," she says, biting her lip. He walks over and sits beside her, pulling her into an embrace. As they kiss, she runs her fingers through his hair, pressing her body against his. "I've missed you," she murmurs against his lips. "It's been so long since we've been alone like this." He nods in agreement, his hands roaming her body as they deepen the kiss. She straddles his lap, grinding against him as she tugs at his shirt. "Jane, we can't," he protests weakly, even as his hands slide under her shirt. "We're on duty in an hour." She smirks. "Let them wait," she purrs, nipping at his earlobe. "We never get time alone anymore," she says, pulling his shirt off as she gently pushes him onto his back. Dot. 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 Hours later, sated and drifting off to sleep, his own comms being off, Jane's device chirps with an urgent message from the bridge. Chen's voice coming through. "Captain, we've detected a massive energy surge from the planet's surface. And it seems to be emanating from the location of the alien ruins we explored earlier." Her words tense with concern. Blaze groans, activating his comms. "On my way," he replies, throwing on his uniform with practiced efficiency. Jane sits up as well, her brow furrowed. "I'm coming with you," she says, firmly grabbing her own clothes. Dot. 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 As they enter the bridge, they see right away that the chasm far below is glowing strangely. As they watch, the ship's sensors pick up a beam of energy that shoots across the universe towards another star system. The AI calculating the beam to be a somehow faster than light radio transmission of garbled noise. Jane looks at her star map at her station. "That went towards our next stop we have before returning to Earth," she says, surprised. Do you think it means someone was still down there or could be receiving whatever that was?" Blaze chuckles. I doubt anything down there was alive. I'm really starting to not like space, so I hope the next planet is peaceful. Nice and peaceful, he says, thinking about the strange timing and all they've uncovered in such a short time. Jane stands up and moves to his side, her brow furrowed as she studies the data flowing across her screen. The energy signature is definitely artificial, but the pattern is unlike anything I've seen before. It's not like any communication patterns we use. She zooms in on a particular section of the broadcast. Look at this sequence here. It's repeating in an oddly regular pattern, but it's just random packets of strange energy. Almost like a panic distress signal. Blaze nods, his eyes fixed on the rapidly updating holographic display. Whatever it is, we need to be careful. That beam was powerful enough to reach across light years in a matter of seconds. And what makes you say that? It looks like nothing to me. Dot. Dot. She tilts her head, thinking a moment, a confused look crossing her face. I'm not sure, just a thought that kinda popped into my head. She says as the ship's sensors pick up another energy surge, this one weaker but still significant. The crew quickly plots its origin point and Martinez clears her throat. The signal's coming from the same location as before, but it's different this time. Less focused, more scattered. She taps a few keys, bringing up a detailed analysis. It's not a distress signal. It's more like a warning or an alarm system activating. Blaze nods, his face grim. Whatever is down there, it's still active. And we need to know what it is. He turns to Lieutenant Chen at the tactical station. Chen, scan for any life signs on the surface. If there's anything down there, I want to know about it. Just then the weaker beam of energy shifts, the ship caught in the center of its path before anyone can react. The strange faster-than-light beam of energy causing a bright flash and massive surge of electrical energy. The ship's lights flicker rapidly as the hull shudders with such vibratory force, the seat and controls hurt his skin as the air itself is almost painful. Then the core shuts down completely as the lights go out. Dot. Dot. Pure darkness fills the ship, the core misaligned in its cradle, the emergency light batteries drained completely. Blaze swallows, looking where he knows his readouts should be. Okay, that's really bad. Really bad. These batteries run till they have 0% left. Usual batteries die at 90+% capacity and the 100% is really like 10% at most. Are we even alive right now? Did it drain our quantum effect batteries or overload them and we're dead right now? He wonders. Thieving fiends, he thinks, is a complete thought concept. As he feels around blindly, he can hear the others breathing harshly. Then notices something odd. As they sit in the dark, he listens closer. What's missing here? Sounds off, he thinks to himself. Looking towards one of his crew at the far end of the bridge as they hyperventilate, he focuses to isolate their breathing from the rest. Huh. Where did her breathing go? He thinks in alarm as he visualizes the area. He pulls his sidearm, aiming towards the area of the missing breaths he'd noticed, then shouts. Everyone on the floor now. Hearing people hit the deck, he opens fire. The bridge flashes a brilliant blue with full auto energy pistol bolts ripping through the air. The scene revealed, making Blaze's blood run cold, the flashes illuminating 3 crew, their bodies mangled as blood pools onto the floor. The ship's lights return as the core room techs move the cradle into alignment with the manual crank system. As the crew's eyes adjust to the light, they gasp as Jane tackles Blaze to the ground. What did you do? She cries, looking up at the smoking bodies of 3 now unrecognizable crew members, each having been hit by several of his energy bolts. He stares in confusion. I didn't do that, he insists, not struggling against her. She looks down at him as tears form in her eyes. I'm sorry, Blaze, but you're going into the holding cell. Bye. She pauses, gathering herself. By reason of possible psychotic break, you're relieved of command and will stay under watch till we get to the bottom of this, she says. He looks up at her, unsure what to say, and offers his wrists. As she cuffs him, he looks back at the bodies. Did I just? He thinks unsure and untrusting of himself as Chen and Jane escort him to the holding cell. His mind reeling from what he can only assume was a hallucination. As the cell door slides shut behind him, he sinks to the floor, his hands still cuffed. The reality of the situation hits him. Stripped of command after whatever that was, as 3 of the crew are dead. He thinks to himself. ... Hours later, Jane's voice crackles through the intercom. HQ wants us to continue the mission. You're under 24-hour observation. We'll figure this out, but for now, you need to stay put. Her words sound distant and hollow, as if she's struggling to believe what just happened herself. He presses the button. I swear I didn't mean to. I thought I heard something, he says, and she scoffs. Blaze, we're the only ones in this ship and you blindly fired your weapon on the bridge. How reckless and stupid can you be? This is serious, Blaze. I have to go help navigate the ship. I love you, Blaze, but this, she says before returning to the bridge where her son Mark has taken over as captain in his father's absence. Blaze stares at the door long after Jane's voice fades. He runs his cuffed hands over his face, trying to make sense of what happened. The image of the mangled bodies keeps flashing through his mind. He stands up, pacing the small cell. The walls feel like they're closing in on him. He needs to talk to Elena, to see if she found anything in the data from the destroyed planet that could explain this. Maybe there was some kind of radiation that affected him without him realizing it. Hours pass with no word from anyone as they jump to faster than light in a warp tunnel. As she watches her nav station, her breath comes in a deep strained rhythm, her chest full of stress. Confusion swimming in her head. Pushing away from the monitor, she turns to her son. Captain, I think I should step away, and she starts to say as she passes out, dropping to the floor. The bridge crew immediately springs into action. Mark rushes to his mother's side, checking her pulse and breathing. Medical team to the bridge, he shouts into the comm system. The ship's doctor, Elisa, quickly arrives with a medical kit as Dr. Martinez kneels beside Jane, already pulling out her medical scanner. Her vitals are stable, but she's running a high fever, she says, checking Jane's temperature. It could be a reaction to the recent stress. I'll need to run some tests. As Elisa administers a light sedative, Jane stirs, her eyes fluttering open. Blaze. You need to know. Hiding. She mumbles as they lift her onto a stretcher. In the medical wing as they run tests on Jane, in the holding cell, Blaze looks up as Mark enters the hall. Captain Blaze stares at his son, noticing the worry etched on his face. What's wrong? Is it your mother? He stands up, his hands still cuffed. Mark hesitates, his hands clenching and unclenching at his side. She's stable, but the doctors found something unusual in her blood work. High levels of an unknown compound. They're running more tests, but for now, she's sedated and under observation. Blaze's face contorts in confusion and concern. An unknown compound? That doesn't make any sense. How could she have picked up something like that here? Mark's eyes dart nervously around the hallway before he steps closer to the cell door. That's just it, Dad. We're not sure. The compound wasn't picked up in any of the environmental scans we ran. It's like it appeared out of nowhere. Blaze leans forward, his brow furrowing in concentration. That's impossible. We've got the most advanced scanning equipment in the solar system. There's no way something could appear without us detecting it. He runs a hand through his hair, the cuffs clinking softly. What does Elena think it is? Mark shifts uncomfortably. She's not sure yet, but Blaze stops a moment thinking. Son, on the bridge. Next time you're there, look for a dark stain on the far left side. Near where the bodies were, he says, lost in thought. Mark stares at him, unsure what to think, but nods. On the bridge, Mark looks over towards the area the crew died. At first only seeing a few plasma shot impacts on the wall. Looking closer he sees the black soot from the shots but nothing else. Jane wakes feeling hungover from the effects of the sedatives as her head swims, making her feel sick. The ship rattles and groans as it transitions back into normal space. Blaze stares at the star field on the screen nearby, his mind racing with thoughts of Jane and the strange compound in her blood. He turns to Mark, who has just returned from the bridge. "Did you find anything?" he asks, his voice strained with worry and frustration. Mark shakes his head, his brow furrowed. "I looked where you said, but I didn't see anything unusual. Just some scorch marks from the plasma fire." He pauses, considering his next words carefully. "We found more ruins on this planet. They look older and less advanced than the others. I'll let you know what we find," he tells him. As the crew explores the ruined city, they come across a massive stone temple, its walls carved with intricate glyphs and symbols. Lieutenant Chen, the ship's linguist, studies the inscriptions intently. "This is incredible," she murmurs. "These glyphs are unlike anything I've ever seen. They seem to tell a story, but I can't quite decipher it all." She traces her finger along a series of symbols, her brow furrowed in concentration. Dr. Martinez, meanwhile, examines a strange, crystalline structure at the center of the temple. "I'm detecting an unusual energy signature emanating from this object," she says, holding up her scanner. "It's gotta be the same civilizations as before. The energy frequency is exactly the same, just older." "Much older," she says. After recording the intricate, pulsating carvings and paintings, they return to the ship. Jane looks over as Martinez enters the ship's brig and nods. "So, the planet's life has been extinct a while, as it's like everything just died on the spot. They all look rather terrifying as well. Though some seem less fearsome. There seem to be at least 5 or 6 different types on just this planet. But again, in areas it's like they dropped dead, and others there are massive signs of impacts, with other upheavals that seem to flip entire country-sized land masses on the far side. Only 7 to 10,000 years ago, if sensors are correct." She pauses as they absorb the information, then continues. "If I didn't know any better, I'd say another alien race is exterminating every other alien race, but then where are they, and is it magic? Or is this just what happens to most worlds, weird, freaky space events that can wipe out planets, beat energy defenses, and even events that leave next to no damage but kills everything? Even the strange germs are dead." Blaze flinches seeing one of the creatures close-ups as he sits in his cell. "Why does that look familiar?" he says, looking at the black charred wolfish beast petrified mid-stride, its empty shell of a body clearly long dead. A scar from a blade on its forehead. Martinez then grins. "We were also able to get a few of the insect types and a few of the others as well," she says. Blaze feels a chill run through him, then the room feels warmer. "That's creepy. Are we sure we shouldn't just put them back? I don't like the idea of even our government getting a hold of alien DNA. Last thing we need is them to replicate it in animals." Martinez shakes her head, her expression grave. "The data alone is valuable. We can't afford to lose this information." She gestures to the screen showing the dead creatures. "These beings are unlike anything we've ever encountered. Their DNA structure, their physiology, it's completely alien. We need to understand how they worked, what made them tick." Jane interjects, her face pale. "But look at them. They're so wrong. The way they move, their features, it's like something out of a nightmare. And the weapons we found, the technology, it's terrifyingly advanced." She shudders, wrapping her arms around herself. Blaze considers this, his jaw tightening. Blaze frowns. "I have to agree with Jane. Something's not right. If there's other races of aliens out there, why haven't we seen any except for dead ones?" he asks. Martinez studies the data on her tablet, her brow furrowed. "The truth is, we don't know. These creatures could be an ancient race that died out long ago. Or maybe they're the remnants of a galactic war that we never heard about." She pauses, then continues in a lower pitch. Or perhaps they're all that's left of something bigger, something that reached out to us. Jane moves closer to the screen of the recharged and powered-on tech pad recovered, studying the live creatures' faces in detail. But look at their eyes. There's no life in them, no soul. It's like they were made for one purpose and one purpose only. She turns to Blaze, her face pale. What if we're the only ones left? He chuckles. No, we see things on Earth all the time and we only visited 2 or 3 places. Martinez interrupts, her face grave. Actually, Captain, we've visited over a dozen planets so far. And every single one of them has shown signs of an ancient, highly advanced civilization. She pulls up a holographic display showing images from various worlds. We've found ruins, technology, even some remnants of biological life. But there's something oddly consistent about it all. She zooms in on one particular image. See here, this appears to be some kind of communication array. But it's different from anything we've ever encountered. The frequency patterns, the coding structure, it's alien in ways we can't even begin to comprehend. Jane steps closer, examining the hologram. And these creatures we found, they had space programs with our star system depicted in several. Blaze squints a moment. Maybe it's nothing, but did you say a dozen? How long have I been in here? He asks confused. Jane hesitates, then responds quietly. 2 weeks, Blaze. You killed 3 of our crew members before we sedated you. We had to keep you contained for your own safety. She watches him intently, gauging his reaction. Martinez moves closer to the console, her fingers dancing across the keys as she pulls up medical data. The tests we ran showed high levels of an unknown compound in your system. Something that could have triggered a psychotic episode. We're still analyzing it, but it's definitely not of human origin. Blaze's eyes narrow as he absorbs this information. 2 weeks. But I was just at TRAPPIST-1, we were. Jane grabs his face through the bars. I came in and talked to you every day. Don't you remember? She says, full of concern. Stunned, Blaze looks at her. 2 weeks. I swear, it feels like only a few hours. And TRAPPIST-1, we were investigating those ruins, trying to uncover the truth about the ancient aliens. He pauses, his brow furrowing as he tries to make sense of it all. Jane, the creatures we found, the technology, it's all connected somehow. I can feel it in my bones. There's a bigger picture here, something we're missing. Martinez nods solemnly. I agree, Captain. The more data we collect, the more convinced I am that this is all part of a larger narrative. A story that spans galaxies and millennia. She gestures to the holographic display, which now shows a complex web of connections between the various planets they've visited. But what is the story? And what role do we play in it? Jane wonders aloud, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and unease. She turns to Blaze, her eyes searching his face. You said you felt like it was only a few hours. It's really sounding like you need to see a therapist or something. Hours later, as Jane sits at her desk by her bed, she looks over at her wedding photo. What's going on with you, Blaze? She whispers to herself as her eyes tear up. Meanwhile, in the research lab, Martinez is analyzing the body of an insectoid alien but stops in confusion. Pulling out her voice recorder, she hits the button. At first, what I assumed to be an exoskeleton of some kind appears to have no possible means of containing anything bigger than a mouse. Almost like this creature isn't even a creature but a biomechanical drone of some kind. Analysis of its material composition show strange structure, almost seeming grown. Unknown fibers seem woven into its bioflesh as well. Almost like it's a framework that maybe the material grows on, or possibly 3D printed, as the matrix closely resembles human methods for printing materials. She says into the recorder, then sets it down, staring at the body. The next day, Blaze is sitting in the ship's medical wing undergoing daily evaluations. The ship's doctor, A stern-faced woman named Eliza was running Blaze through a series of neurological tests and physical examinations. After hooking him up to various monitoring devices, she began firing off rapid-fire questions. Do you notice any changes in your vision, hearing, or other senses since your last evaluation? Eliza asked, notepad in hand. Blaze pauses considering. No, nothing significant, he replied. Though I did have an odd dream the other night. It was like I was standing on a planet, staring up at a sky full of strange constellations. And there was this feeling of dread, like something was out there watching us. Eliza jots down a note, her brow furrowing slightly. Dreams can often reflect subconscious anxieties, she muses. With the stress of this maiden voyage, it's natural to feel some apprehension. Blaze nods, but couldn't shake the unsettling feeling the dream had left him with. I suppose you're right, it's just hard not to feel a bit paranoid out here, in the vast emptiness of space. Eliza gives a reassuring smile. You're not alone in that sentiment, Blaze. But remember, we have the most advanced technology and the finest crew in the galaxy on our side. If there are any threats out there, we'll be ready for them. Dot. 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 As the Echo-03 touches down on another planet, the scanners show a motionless world full of noxious gases and freezing temperatures. Jane studies the readings at her station. If this was a civilization, they weren't very good at infrastructure. There's no highways between cities and it all looks industrial or military. She says out loud. Dot. Dot. Blaze sighs as he looks out of the viewing window, having been cleared for duty while being observed. The thing I don't get is, as we collect data and get further from Earth, it's like the disasters aren't as severe. Except for a few exceptions that seem far more advanced than others. He says to Martinez and Jane. Martinez leans forward in her seat, her brow furrowed in thought. It does seem odd, doesn't it? Almost as if the more advanced civilizations faced something far more catastrophic. Jane nods, her eyes still glued to the scanner readouts. It's almost like whatever wiped them out was more potent, closer to our home system. Blaze rubs his temples, a headache starting to form. It doesn't make any sense. Why would civilizations with advanced technology be wiped out like that? There has to be more to this than we're seeing. Unless the universe is literally just that dangerous and Earth got lucky or hasn't had time to experience it yet. He says, ignoring the crew's glances. Jane's fingers fly across her console, pulling up a holographic display of the nearby stellar region. Wait a second, I'm picking up something strange in the electromagnetic spectrum. It's like a signal, but it's not coming from any of the planets we've scouted. Blaze leans forward, his interest piqued. A signal? Are you sure it's not just background noise? The ship's sensors beep rapidly, drawing their attention to the hologram. Jane's face contorts in confusion as she zooms in on a specific area. No, look at this. It's definitely artificial. And it's coming from the direction of that dark spot on our long-range scanners. Dot. 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 As they approach the strangely dark area, scanners fail to penetrate the almost invisible cloud of unknown gases. Entering the Jupiter-sized cloud, the Echo-03 shudders, vibrating softly. Its sensors linking the vibration to the strange cloud. Moving deeper, the cloud seems to thin and several state and moon-sized ships come into view. Their hulls mostly undamaged, though areas where warp cores may have been show signs of catastrophic failure. Blaze shakes his head. There has to be a dozen ships here, and do all of them have core damage? What are the odds of that with all of them? He wonders out loud. Jane studies the readings, her brow furrowed in concentration. The energy signatures are all over the place. Some of these ships look like they've been sitting here for centuries, while others are still operational. She pauses, glancing up at Blaze with a look of unease. I don't like this. There's something very wrong here. He nods grimly, his eyes fixed on the eerie sight before them. The ships drifting lazily, ghosts of a long-dead civilization. We need to investigate. Chen, ready a boarding party. Jane, keep scanning for any signs of life or activity. He tells her. Chen and Jane both nod, moving swiftly to their stations to prepare for the impending mission. Blaze straps himself into the pilot's seat, his hands gripping the controls as he guides the Echo-03 closer to the largest of the derelict ships. The vessel looms before them, its hull pitted and scarred, but still largely intact. As they approach, Blaze notices a series of strange symbols etched into the side of the ship. They seem to pulse with a faint, ethereal light, unlike anything he's ever seen before. "Jane, can you get a reading on those symbols?" he asks, pointing towards the glowing markings. Jane leans forward, her eyes narrowing as she studies the readouts. Jane frowns as she reviews the scanner data. The symbols. They're not like any language I've ever encountered. And that energy signature. It's unlike anything we've ever recorded before. She pauses, a look of unease spreading across her face. "I don't know what to make of it, Blaze. But I don't think we should ignore it." Blaze nods, a sense of foreboding settling in his gut. "Agreed. Chen, once we're docked, you and your team will secure the area. Jane, keep scanning for any signs of danger." As they enter the moon-sized ship, the thick atmosphere feels almost like they are underwater as they walk. Several dozen corroded, boxy vehicles sit lifelessly, occupants holding weapons silently, the heavy water-like air blowing through the missing windows. The ventilation system still being operational. A few military-style vehicles sit menacingly. The reptilian driver hanging out of the hatch, his rifle lightly clattering against the side of the vehicle. Blaze swallows. "I'm really starting to think maybe humans are why all these planets are dead," he says through the comms. Jane and Martinez chuckle and Jane looks at him. "And what makes you think that?" Blaze shrugs. "Well, so far on planets we found a lot of ruins and cities of some kind, all of them led us to where we go next, the carvings and star maps. Most of these planets were connected somehow and on several we find our own solar system and even planet as a focus point." He pauses looking around as they nod. And our own mapping shows that the older civilizations are usually further away from Earth and not as advanced. But each jump closer they get more complex along with what wipes them out in most cases. We could be seeing a bunch of alien types working to spread or explore. Lots of weapons for explorers though. And there's never any mention in the ancient sites of the events that wiped them out. Like they never saw it coming despite faster-than-light technology and travel. We either got lucky as nature took them out or something else that leaves Earth alone," he says, just thinking out loud. Jane's face softens as she listens to Blaze's musings. "You're right, it does seem odd. But surely if humans were responsible for all this, we'd have records of it." She pauses, glancing at the ancient vehicles around them. "Unless someone was covering it up." Blaze nods, his eyes scanning the desolate interior of the ship. "That's what I'm starting to think. Someone powerful enough to cover up the destruction of entire civilizations." He pauses, a chill running down his spine. "And if that's true, what kind of power would that be?" The team continues their exploration, the oppressive atmosphere of the ship thick with tension. As he walks he notices a light on the far side of the 1,000-mile-wide ship. Watching it, suddenly it turns off. "Everybody stop and turn on the stealth cloaks," he says. Ducking behind a vehicle, activating his cloak, a soft dome covers his helmet as it mirrors the area around him along with his suit. Vanishing almost perfectly he stands up. Looking back at the others he sees an overlaid image of them in his visor. Turning back he freezes, staring into the living Anubis-like creature's chest. Moving out of its way as it passes he smells a strong chemical odor even through his breathing system. His heart racing as the large creature stops looking around. Its glowing but somehow lifeless eyes scanning the area before it seems to look at Blaze. He looks at the creature's eyes and it winks at him, then speaks in an airy yet chillingly evil resonance. "I can see you regardless, human. May I ask what your purpose here might be?" It asks him as he drops his suit's cloaking. The creature's eyes bore into Blaze, its lipless mouth curling into a predatory grin. "Fascinating. A human on a death world. I haven't seen one of you in so long. Its scaled fingers flex, claws scraping against its armor with a metallic shriek. Jane's voice crackles through the comms, tense and urgent. Blaze, what's going on? We can't see you anymore. Her words waver, fear creeping in as she speaks. The creature turns its head, seeming to sense their presence. Ah, I see you've brought friends. How delightful. It takes a step forward, its massive form casting a shadow that stretches across the floor. Don't worry, they can't hear or see us unless I want them to. It says, then adds. It wasn't very nice what you did to those people on your ship, you know. Shooting their dead bodies and all. It chuckles, lowering its head. Seeing a familiar scar from a blade on its forehead. I'm going to enjoy making them think you're crazy. It sneers, then vanishes. Jane looks his way. Hey, there you are, we need to get off this ship now. Our suits can't take much more of this atmosphere, she tells him. Blaze's heart pounds as he processes the creature's words. The atmosphere on the ship feels increasingly oppressive, the chemical odor hanging heavy in the air. He quickly joins the others, his mind reeling from the encounter. Everyone, we need to move. Now. Blaze's voice is urgent as he shepherds the group towards the exit. There's something here, something that can see through our cloaks. It knew about what happened on the Echo-03. Jane's face drains of color. Blaze, nothing was here with us. You vanished, then reappeared standing in the same spot. Our systems must need repairs, cause I couldn't see you, but your tracker was in the same spot the whole time. Not sure we can trust our equipment, and now you're seeing things again, she says as sadness fills her eyes. Blaze's breath catches in his throat a moment. Jane, I'm fine. It was right there. I even have it on video, he says. She looks him in his eyes. Okay, then show us as soon as we get back on the ship. But Blaze, if nothing's on that, she says, but doesn't finish as she walks away, unable to wipe her tears through her helmet. Back on the ship as they gather around. Blaze isn't surprised when his suit's camera shows nothing but him talking to himself. Jane. She glares at him. No, you need to go see Eliza and be honest with her, Blaze. Obviously you're not honest with me, cause I have no idea where any of this is coming from. Just please get help, she says as everyone wanders off. I'm not mad at you, Blaze, but I'm scared, worried about you, she says, and then goes to the bridge to help navigate. As she walks away, he hangs his head. Am I crazy? He thinks to himself. Blaze decides to go see Eliza, the ship's doctor. He makes his way through the corridors, his mind awhirl with the events on the alien ship and Jane's reaction. As he approaches Eliza's office, he takes a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation ahead. He knocks on the door, and Eliza's voice comes through, inviting him in. Inside, Eliza looks up from her desk, her expression one of concern. Blaze, what can I do for you? She asks, gesturing for him to take a seat. He sits down, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. Eliza, I think I might be losing my mind. Eliza leans forward, her brow furrowed with worry. What makes you say that, Blaze? Has something happened? Blaze takes a deep breath, his eyes darting away as he tries to find the right words. I saw something on the alien ship. A creature, but when I showed the video to Jane, there was nothing there. Just me, talking to myself. Eliza listens intently, her expression unreadable. Go on, she prompts gently. I don't know what's happening to me, Eliza. I'm not crazy, I know I saw it. It was real. Blaze's voice rises with desperation. And it knew things. She squints at him. You were cloaked during that. Nothing could see you, and in my professional opinion, it's not uncommon for stress or trauma-induced hallucinations to be rooted in things you know. Eliza sits back in her chair. Her expression thoughtful as she considers Blaze's words. You know, Blaze, the human mind is a complex thing. It's not uncommon for the brain to conjure up images and experiences that feel real, especially in times of stress or trauma. She stands up and moves around her desk. perching on the edge in front of Blaze. Tell me more about this creature you saw. What did it look like? What did it say to you? Blaze takes a deep breath, his eyes distant as he recalls the encounter. It was terrifying, tall, with scaly skin and claws. Its eyes were dark, almost bottomless. He shudders involuntarily. It knew about the Echo-03, about what happened to us. It said it was going to make us suffer for what we've done to their kind. Eliza's face darkens as she listens, her professional demeanor slipping for a moment. That sounds very specific, Blaze. Can you think of any reason why your mind might have created this particular scenario? Blaze's eyes snap back to focus. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm feeling guilty about our crew we lost. Eliza places a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Guilt can manifest in interesting ways, Blaze. She tells him. ...